कैसा लगा साहब? अच्छा, अक्सर औकात समीर भाई जो यहाँ के पैदा हुए हुए बच्चे हैं ना, माँ बाप कहते हैं मिर्चें नहीं खाता, मिर्चें नहीं खाता, मगर आप देखें इस सिंथिया को, इन्होंने मिर्चें भी खाई और वहाँ की फूड को खूब ट्राई किया।
बिल्कुल, खाना तो देखिए, मैं अभी पाकिस्तान से होके आया हूँ और कुछ 10-20 पाउंड मेरा भी बढ़ गया। तो so the hospitality, like she rightly put it, and what a beautiful example she gave about her mother who's not a traveler, how she related the hospitality to food, and that's our culture. That's the beauty of Pakistan.
Exactly.
That you welcome them, and the first thing you do is to say, मेरे घर पे आओ और मैं अपने घर पे बैठ के खाना खाओ।
क्या बात,
ये पाकिस्तानी हॉस्पिटैलिटी है। ये आपने देखा, मैंने देखा है, हमने देखा है और हम करते भी हैं। हम वही हॉस्पिटैलिटी बाय एंड लार्ज हमसे हो सकती है, हम यहाँ भी करते हैं।
बिल्कुल सही। Cynthia, now I'll come to Majid. Will ask some other questions because again I'll come back to the media. Sometime I personally, I've been given the confidence by my parents, by my family, by my husband. Wherever I am today, it's all because of my husband. I'm a Pakistani man. Sometimes people say women doesn't have right. You had time to travel, and I was told that you even traveled to the remote areas as well. Have you seen women working with the men, and how did you see, and what was your experience?
Ji, bilkul. Let me just say this. I've seen some of the most amazing women do some of the most stringent of activities that any man can do. And that includes having spent time with the female commandos of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I had the opportunity to actually train with these women, which was, I had so much fun. My director of photography was like, quit smiling, you're having too much fun. I was like, you know, this was like field day back in school for me. We were running around, we were jumping off buildings, we were firing all sorts of stuff. You know, these women were incredibly amazing. And what I find is important, just as you said, those women had the support of their senior officers. They had to have had the support of their family, their community. So it's very much a communal effort. Female fighter pilots, some of whom their families were not in the military, and their parents were very determined for their daughters to take another path, and they said, no, this is what we want to do. And for me, like, Pakistan is very much similar to the Southern culture. If you're not married with 2.7 children in a house with a white picket fence by the time you're 21 years of age, there's something wrong with you, right? So that was what I grew up with in the South, in the United States of America. And so when I flew to Pakistan and I saw basically the same type of thinking, I thought, good God, I flew around halfway around the world to get away from this. But it was like, in many ways, going back home for me. And so these young women chose to remain single, because in Pakistan, as you know, you're either single or married. There's no concept of anything in between. So these women chose to defy typical role type to follow their passion of being a fighter pilot. That means they remain single for however long, and so that they can continue their training and their passion. So two little young girls in Layadi, which is historically one of the most dangerous areas and one of the most ostensibly dangerous cities in what's been labeled in the past and historically as one of the most dangerous countries, Layadi has a boxing club designed specifically for young girls in the area so they can learn self-defense, have confidence, carry themselves high, their chin high, and say, Assalamu alaikum, mera naam Aisha hai. You know, very confident young girls. But this was done by Mr. Yunus Khan Sahib, who is a professional boxer, who also wanted to give back to the young girls and had to get buy-in from the community. So there's the story behind the story. These amazing women doing incredible things, but they absolutely could not do it without the support of the men and communities behind them.
So you gave an example of Peshawar, you gave an example of Karachi. Same. Women are living very, those who are good family, you must have a chance to meet with them as well. They are living gorgeous life. They don't work, but they do go to the clubs. They Do you have any experience with those as well?
Absolutely. The sort of the urban elite in Islamabad and Lahore, there are plenty of women that are housewives and homemakers that by choice they live the life that they want and they go shopping. It's like, Beverly Hills 90210, but the Pakistan edition. You've got these real housewives that are able to live a very comfortable, very luxurious lifestyle, and it's by choice, and they're happy, and that's what they want to do. So I've seen the gamut of society from the fashionable elites that attend fashion shows. I walked in a fashion show. There are all these things that are happening in Pakistan that unfortunately, for whatever reason, the mainstream media just simply doesn't cover.
Rapidly, the whole world is changing, and of course Pakistan is changing too, and you've been there for 3 years. Did you see any difference in 3 years' time?
So my first trips to Pakistan were in 2010. So I've spent the vast majority of the past several years in Pakistan. I lived for a stretch for 2 years and then for another year. So I lived full time for 3 years in Pakistan. I did see some development. There's so much going on politically in Pakistan that sometimes that can cause a little bit of confusion or distraction from ground realities, in my opinion. I feel like that even though we hear a lot of the negative elements that tend to be pervasive in the media, there is far more progression on the ground that unfortunately is not covered, and that includes healthcare, education. You've got biometric devices for accountability, which is a huge thing for Pakistan. I think much like in America, there's lack of accountability for transparency in some of these crucial sectors such as healthcare and education development. These things are actually happening. You've got telemedicine in some of the most rural areas of Pakistan where you have very simple people who perhaps can't afford to spend 3,000 or 4,000 rupees to travel down to Islamabad for treatment, and now they can with a remote satellite clinic that's been set up. Then they can communicate via electronic uplink to their doctor who grew up in their village, whom they're comfortable with, but who happens to be based in a larger city. So you've got all of these amazing things happening in Pakistan that in some parts of America we don't have.
Elaborate a bit more what you're talking about just now.
For telemedicine?
Yes.
Okay, so
It's amazing.
So there's a fantastic company called Telemedicine, and there's also Telesahat. They do remote education activities, and a lot of it's like online Quran teaching as part of the Islamiyat studies in Pakistan. But I'm speaking specifically about the healthcare industry. I've had some difficulties. I was hospitalized twice in Pakistan, and I came across the idea that I didn't know at the time that there were issues such as recycling needles and reusing latex gloves. I thought universal health care principles were universal, and they really weren't. To give you a quick example, I toured a hospital in sort of north of Mansehra, Shamdera, and there was a healthcare practitioner who was giving blood to a patient, and her gloves were bloodied. And when she met me, she stuck out her bloody gloved hand to shake my hand. And I was like, oh, no. That's when it really hit me. And then I had to go for blood work at some point because I was dehydrated at the hospital. And later I learned that there was a risk of recycling and reusing needles. So I went through my own personal scares. But on the flip side of that coin, there are remarkable things in villages where they used to tie onions around their legs as a way to help expedite the healing process. They're now sort of growing, their comfort level is growing to adapt and embrace these technologies that help them get that cream for a dermatological illness that they otherwise would not have had access to. So the rural villagers are beginning to trust a little bit more, and that's helpful because the healthcare practitioners are from their part of the world, and that makes that transition into being absorbed into the modern healthcare system that much easier.
Amazing.
Amazing. Now, Majid deviated from the topic because I just wanted to portray the picture. Should I go back to that?
Sure, please, go ahead.
Because we did talk about, now, you had a chance to go to Skardu, you had a chance to go to all northern areas, plus you went to some villages as well.
Yes.
How did you find women there?
It really depends on the province. One of the fascinating things about Pakistan is that there are so many microcosms of society within society. You don't find just one type of village woman. There are some that do purdah, there are some that are out chopping wood. I've seen women do the physical activities, and the men were doing something else, I don't know. I have seen very strong, outgoing, hi, how are you doing type of women, and then very far more reserved type of women. So I've sort of run the gamut, if you will, of personalities, but all of them, once they got to know me, were incredibly welcoming and welcomed me into their home to meet their families and so forth. And I actually found the rural people some of the most generous of spirit and welcoming.
This means like women are standing shoulder to shoulder with men, whatever their capacity is and wherever they are.
In many cases, yes.
So what is your experience? What do you recommend people? Should they go to Pakistan or not?
I think they should, absolutely. Pakistan is one of the most valuable lessons. I've traveled many countries, and Pakistan is definitely one of my favorite because of the things that I learned. If you go into a place with little to no expectation, right, you won't be disappointed, as the saying goes. But I learned so much more in terms of foreign policy, in terms of opening my eyes to people that I otherwise would not have been ever exposed to. And so for the good and for the not so good, I would absolutely say go to Pakistan, take a chance on Pakistan, and you won't come back the same person.
Again, when we were talking about the media and the way the media portrays Pakistan, what do you have to say to those people who are like as if Pakistan is not? I'll give you an example. If you want to go to Pakistan right now, and if you want to go within a week, you won't find tickets. Okay, airline tickets, everything is booked. So to me, I tell them that, you know what, there are so many people from here going back to Pakistan or going first time to Pakistan because you can't find the airline tickets for a week.
Tickets are booked because they're escaping America.
There you go, there you go. So there has to be, there are a lot of people going there. But on the other hand, the media portrays that, hey, don't go to Pakistan because, you know, there's so many things happening and there's shows here on TV. How could it be possible?
Are we talking about the domestic media
No,
in Pakistan,
I'm talking
the
about
international media in
international
Pakistan?
media.
And in my opinion, that applies to both. The domestic media is not kind to Pakistan. And I'm not asking for people to be kind, I'm just asking for them to be objective. There is good and there's not so good in every country. If we just use the descriptors misogyny, gender parity, women's issues, religious extremism. Historically, we might think of that, if I did word association with University of California, Santa Barbara not too long ago with the students there. And I said, when I say Pakistan, what comes to mind? And they list all these things, right? Oppression, a patriarchal society, women's rights issues and so forth. And then I said, but those descriptors can now be applied to what other country? America. So of all the things that we have a lot of things in common, good things and not so good things. There's a saying that we have in the South, you may have heard it.
All kind of human beings.
People in glass houses should not throw stones. So my goal when I travel is to help encourage more attention, draw attention to the desired behaviors that we want to see. Attention is one of the greatest reinforcers. It's not money, it's not food. Those are short-term and non-sustainable ways of getting people to do things that you want them to do in the short term. Attention is a long-term solution. We draw attention to the desired behaviors, and that would be to, in my opinion, the young people who largely go unheard in Pakistan. From age 20 to 35 and beyond, there are so many entrepreneurs in that country that are taking the initiative, and that's a very important word because I think in terms of industrial and organizational psychology, that could be something that Pakistan could benefit from, to encourage people to take the initiative. Get rid of this patwari culture. Stop waiting on other people to give you. When people see me, they see me coming, they think I'm going to give them money. No, I'm sorry, no. You teach people how to fish. You don't give them fish, right? You want to help them stand up on their own 2 feet. And the people that are taking that initiative in Pakistan should have the attention drawn to them.
There are very many people who are working that way.
Indeed.
Recently, we did interview Indus hospitals. I think they are doing tremendous job. I have come across very many people. They are definitely doing that. We'll come back after a short break. हमारे साथ रहिएगा.